On this edition of Flashtalk, brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling, head ball coach Kenni Burns stops by to talk about the battle for the anniversary award. Our director of athletics, Randall Richmond, talks about his experience in a mock college football selection committee. Our volleyball seniors talk about their time here at Kent State. And Maggie McKendry from our Golden Flashes Club discusses Giving Tuesday. As always, we have time for promos, and that's all coming up in a flash. Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It is Flash Talk. We are brought to you by Brian Heating and Cooling. Dan Griff alongside the head ball coach, Kenni Burns. And coach, obviously a tough one last week, but you always talk about growing and responding. So how has the team responded so as we head into another rivalry week?
Obviously a tough one for everyone, the players first and foremost, and then obviously university and our community. But this is year zero, I call it year one, and you don't get to determine really how fast it goes. You know, each player always says learns at their own time and own pace, and I can tell you much, they're definitely buying in. And the more we have wounds like this and failings like this, the more we'll just consistently grow. And it was a great week of practice. They're back to work, and I know they're ready to do a good job this week. What was
the message as you leave a heartbreak like that, heading into another big midweek action game?
Another scar. And so we talk about scars and wearing our scars, and eventually those scars will be things we've learned from to help us, catapult this program in the direction we want to. So another scar that we've got to learn from. You look at it, we started fast, we accelerated in the middle, but we didn't finish strong. And then it's also a reminder that you never know when your time's coming. You don't get to choose that. But when it comes, you better be ready and prepared. As we had some guys go down, guys had to go in there and step up and probably didn't have the response they wanted, in their first starts or their first time playing.
Well, like you said, there's something to grow from, and like you said, you win, and you can. And otherwise, it's opportunities to grow, and obviously, you can even grow during a victory. But we turn our attention now to Bowling Green in a lesser-known rivalry trophy, the Anniversary Award, as both teams founded in 1910. But Scott Leffler's got his ball club trending in the right direction, and a veteran group.
Yeah, veteran group, and Scott's done a great job with them. And I played them over when we were at Minnesota, so I know what they're about. They play hard, they play physical, they're a tough bunch, and it's very clear what they want to do. They want to run the ball and run it down your throat, and you got to make you stop it and then take some shots over your head once you try to stop it. So we got to do a good job with our rules and principles, and then playing a physical game, and I think we're up for the challenge.
And you kind of look at we know what they want to do offensively. Obviously, their bell cow win this year was over Georgia Tech, but defensively, what do they want to do to try to frustrate you with their different looks?
Yeah, they're going to get into some different fronts like most teams do against us. We're expecting that, and they actually do that on tape, but go to some 3-down stuff, some 4-down stuff, and just keep mixing it up to create confusion up front and make you mess up and somebody free in the backfield and stuff like that. So we've got to be sound like we always are. And the one thing I'll say, our O-line took a big step last week. They're playing way better than what they were earlier this year. And there's a lot of people playing way better than they did earlier this year. So we're close, and we just got to put it all together as a football team.
Well, you mentioned the offensive line. I'll point to, obviously, your bread and butter is the run game. You had 4 rushers with over 30 yards rushing, and that just speaks to the balance and, like you said, the depth of that rushing attack, whether it be Tommy or Jalen or Gavin or heck, if you're going to throw a few wrinkles out there, even a tight end on a fake punt, as Justin Holmes rumbled around the edge. But you've spoken to the depth of that, and that obviously showed last week.
Yeah, we've got to keep creating depth with that. I think our running backs are getting better. We're still not where we want to be there, but definitely starting to become more of a taking advantage of our opportunity type group. The one thing they've got to do a better job of is just creating explosive plays. When the O-line does a good job and gets them to the third level against the safety, they got to make a miss and make it a big time play. And I know they're working on that, and it'll show hopefully this week.
And Tommy threw 3 touchdowns. I know that he got a little banged up, but that's kind of everybody's. I don't think anybody's 100% right now this season. But he's spread the wealth around. He's found a good chemistry with Justin. He had a good chemistry with Krishan and Luke Fleury. But now it's time for others to, at this point of the year, step up and grab the spotlight.
Yeah, the great thing for Tom is he's been working with these guys since the beginning of the year. You know, he's been here, unlike Mike, for the whole year, and I think you're starting to see the timing working in his favor, and knowing where the ball needs to go and where guys are going to be at, which is part of the growing and maturation process of our football team. So he's got some guys that'll be out there this week that he's thrown with back in the summer that'll be back out there again, and he's got to just work it with them and make big plays.
It is going to be a 7 o'clock game under the lights. Another opportunity for us to tell our story on CBS Sports Network, and obviously we've, like you said, we keep growing, and let's take home some hardware here this week.
Yeah, for sure. Go Flashes and Kid Grit.
And welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It is Flash Talk. As always, we're brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin joined alongside Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Randall Richmond. We're breaking away from talk about the Golden Flashes and talking a little bit about some of the perks of being an AD, and you had a very interesting experience the weekend that we were all in Fresno. You spent part of the week down in Texas as part of a mock college football playoff committee. So tell us how that came to be and a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it's really cool. Before we get to that, I got a little bit of Flash Talk for you. I want to really give a lot of love to our seniors from our field hockey program as well as our women's soccer program. Both of them making it to the championship game. Didn't get the results that we wanted, but their leadership set an amazing foundation for those programs. And I think we're going to go on a big run because they have great leadership with our coaches, and they've really built an awesome foundation. Tough losses, right? Tough losses is part of the game, and that'll make the victories even sweeter. So with that, yes, indeed, this experience down in Texas. Through the Mid-American Conference, I was selected to be a mock participant for the selection committee for the college football playoffs, and it was absolutely amazing. The year was 2021, so we did our time machine thing, and that's the year that Cincinnati went undefeated. They beat a Notre Dame team that was really tough. So then question was always who's going to be in the top four, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and how do you make those decisions? So seeing the vast program, the intricacies of the selections, the work that goes into it, you never realize how intense it was. And this big pamphlet right here is a testament to that. So, Dan, it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Well, and we have you on because we're getting into the early stages of the college football playoff rankings. And to me, just right now, it's more talk show fodder than it is any substance. But you need to have these meetings. We need to start this far in advance because of the intricacies that go into everything. So talk about everything from, I mean, you're talking strength of schedule and things like that. There are so many metrics that go into trying to figure out the top four and even the top six because there's so many now auto bids and everything in play.
That's right. It's amazing how much data is within this booklet. Strength of schedule, common opponents is something that people don't think about often. You're looking at offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, on the road, at home. It is amazing the amount of data that is gathered for you to make your decision. Then there's the biggest test of them all, the eye test. And the games that you're watching. And that's one thing that we didn't have the benefit of as the mock selection committee. But we had to go back in time and remember what we could remember from those games and contests. But that came up often in the room. Not only will you have these metrics, as we're putting the 4 or so teams, 8 teams up there that we're discussing, you also have the eye test of what everyone watched that week. And that was what they harped on the most. Hey, it is what happened this week. If someone got injured or hurt, we're not projecting forward. What exactly happened this week, and how do you rank the teams?
Yeah, because the big question was, what do you do with Cincinnati? They beat Notre Dame head-to-head, but Cincinnati's quote-unquote strength of schedule wasn't the best in the then AAC. They're now in the Big 12. So you're wondering, hey, was that a fluke one-off, or is Cincinnati really the better team? And now you've got a whole lot of arguments and a lot of voices in the room trying to figure out that question and everything else.
Yeah, and Cincinnati would have been proud of me in 2021. I was the champion of them at the time, and I did get accused of just fighting for the group of 5. But I say, hey, that's not the case. Our job here is to project if these 2 teams went head-to-head, who would win? I say, here's the greatest thing about this particular one. We don't have to project. They played, Cincinnati won, and they went undefeated with everyone that they had to play. They won. So I was championing that side of the argument because, again, we no longer had to project. We had an outcome that we could stand on, and that's the amazing part about it. it's what you believe in the room, and then you get in the room and the perspective that you offer, right? Because you're just trying to get it right. Who are the best 4 teams? And that's how I came to that particular decision.
Now, are they doing any sort of blind resumes where they take the name off and they just go, all right, here's the metrics of 5 or 6 different teams, rank them in the order that you see fit, and then all of a sudden you're surprised that maybe on some ballots Cincinnati all of a sudden is second because you're taking that name brand off the resume.
Yeah, that's a great thought process to it. Unfortunately, everyone knows who the teams are based off of what happened. But what you're speaking about is bias, and I think that's very fair to speak about. Unfortunately, I think bias will work in the favor of the teams who are in the different conferences who have a higher strength of schedule. Because you can only play who you can play. So when you look at it, it's not like it's an option or a choice, and then they chose not to play anyone on their schedule. That's just who they had on their particular schedule. And, we saw it. You have to go undefeated if you're not going to be part of a Power 5 team and program. So the blind, test, I think, is a good idea in theory. In practice, that didn't work for our fever of college football.
Yeah, I think obviously that there are only a handful of teams in the conversation is pretty obvious, even on a blind resume on who is who. But thank you for giving us some perspective as to why we're starting these conversations so early.
Yeah, and I would say, Dan, part of it is you start them late, because if you start these rankings at the beginning of the year, that's another piece of bias that goes into it. So for them to wait until later in the season to begin to rank the teams, and I do want to talk a little bit about how they do the rankings. The rankings are 1 through 25. So it's not just like you're picking the top 4. You pick the top 8, and then you have a conversation about the top 8. And after you get 4, because you put them on a board and everyone's at these big screen TVs, you got your computer there, you got your ranking booklet, and then you're saying, okay, who's going to make it through? So then whoever you all vote on together makes it through. Then after that, you have these ones who are left over. Then you add another 4 teams into it for the second round, and you got 8 teams now, but you're only picking 4 out of this. So it's interesting Hunger Games that you have going on from round to round to round. And you do that all the way through till you rank your top 25 teams. So it is an intensive process to it, and they do have a very good plan to roll out to make sure they do the best job they can.
Well, and it's going to be even more of a kind of a Mad Max situation if and when expansion comes. So it's interesting to see how this is all going to come together. It's a hard road to toe with 4. I can't imagine that expanding the playoff is going to make the conversation though any easier.
Not a chance, but it's going to be exciting.
Coming into Kent was a little scary at first. I mean, it was COVID, and so we didn't have our season in the fall, and so we had to kind of push it to spring, which was kind of scary. Came in, we were only allowed to practice with 4 people at a time, so it was oh God, I'm a freshman, I'm only practicing with 2 seniors and a junior, oh my God, but it was really, really fun. I feel like every year there was something thrown at me, and I just kept pushing it out, and thank God I did, because I love it here. I love Kent, and I love the girls that I've met along the way, and yeah, it's just been fun.
I haven't been in Kent State that long. I've only been here a year, and I really do appreciate the time that I've spent here because it's been a really welcoming environment, and I think it was the perfect way to end my volleyball career.
I love all the girls on this team. I think everybody has made it super easy to get to know each other both on and off the court. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've texted someone and said, hey, you want to go grab dinner real quick? And we just go and we end up out for 2-3 hours just talking about life in general. So these are definitely some lifelong friends that I've made here.
I think this year I really developed a big sister role with a lot of my teammates because I've gotten really close to them, and a lot of them are 4 or 5 years younger than me, and I really enjoyed having this team this year.
My favorite moment period was just beating Ball State again my sophomore year after Aaron came back from an injury, and it was just crazy. Ball State was supposed to be really, really good that year, and then we were their only loss that entire season, and it was just so much fun. I just felt one of the only times where I really felt we played as a family. I truly felt perfect.
My favorite volleyball memory on the court would probably be our Iowa trip. I think it was a lot of fun for me to have a lot of my family there. Now that I'm closer to home, a lot of my family can travel to games, and also that 5-setter with Iowa was a great game, and it was fun playing in front of a crowd that big.
As I'm getting ready to leave, honestly, it goes by really fast, and I feel everybody says that, but truly it does. Don't let those little things get in your way. Don't dwell on things. Don't do all of that, because it goes by really, really quick, and you don't get those minutes back. So just, have fun. I'm gonna miss you guys. Oh.
I just want to say thank you to everyone at Kent State, the staff, the team, for welcoming me this was one of the best experiences ever, and it was a great year, and I'm really sad that I'm going to be leaving.
I want to say thank you to my teammates for allowing me to fall back in love with volleyball. This is definitely a note that I'm okay leaving this on. Volleyball is always going to be an important part of my life, but everybody on this team has played some sort of role in me finding that love again. So for that, I want to say thank you. And to my coaches, I want to say thank you for taking a chance on me and giving me back that confidence, for me to believe in myself and not just my athletic abilities, but what I want to do with my career and my academics. You guys have really made a world of a difference in my life, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm always going to be cheering you on, and no matter what, always remember, just give your best, and that's all you can do.
Let's take a look at what's going on around Kent State sports, brought to you by KSUTix.com. On Wednesday evening, our football team welcomes in Bowling Green for the battle for the anniversary trophy at 7 p.m. That game can be seen on CBS Sports Network and heard on the Kent State Radio Network. And if you get to Dick's Stadium, you'll enjoy the Pres D Freeze-Out. On Thursday, our men's basketball team is back at home to start the Sun Belt Challenge against James Madison. It's a whiteout, and tip-off is at 7 p.m. And on Saturday, our men's basketball team stays at home, welcomes in our friends from Fresno State. It is a 7 p.m. tip time inside the Mack Center, and our salute to service. And don't forget, our season finale for women's volleyball will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m., welcoming in the Ohio Bobcats. And as always, find us on your favorite social media platform at Kent State Athletics. For Kent State tickets, events, and group ticket information, visit KSUTix.com. And welcome back into the GFTV studios. It's Flash Talk. As always, we're brought to you by Bryan Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin is joined with Associate Athletic Director for Athletic Philanthropy, Maggie McKendry, because November is Giving Tuesday and all things crowdfunding. I'm going to ask it pretty simply. What does that mean?
Well, the month of November is Kent State University's most generous tradition, where every one of our sports is able to fundraise for direct projects that will impact our student athletes immediately.
And you guys put in a lot of bonuses, games, some challenges, but not only between the teams, but across campus as well, and between the donors, as $1 can go a whole lot further depending on when you give throughout the week.
Correct. We just finished our Triple Your Gift Tuesday, which our student athletes were able to bring in thousands of dollars worth of matching and then tripled funds during that day. Right now, we're focusing on our participation boosts. For every 25 unique donors that give $25, each sport is able to get a $500 boost, up to $5,000.
You don't have to give much. You're giving $25, but all of a sudden that can literally exponentially grow the gift that you're giving to the team that you're choosing.
Correct. And every one of our sports also has a generous matching donor. So on top of those bonuses coming from the foundation, from the generosity of our university, we also have donors that are backing up those funds too and adding dollar for dollar matches up to various levels, up to $50,000 in some cases, for any donations that come in. And
so you mentioned these are direct gifts to the team. So nothing's going to get lost in the shuffle as far as administrative fees or anything like that. If you're a fan of X sport and they're raising money for Y, every dollar is going to make sure that it's benefiting our student athletes, our teams, our facilities. It is going directly to the program that you've chosen to help.
Correct. These are associated with all of our enhancement accounts, which is essentially our coaches' discretionary accounts. And so all the projects were brought up and approved through our student athletes' participation as well as our head coaches' participation.
Yeah, so we're obviously taking the time to talk with our student athletes, talk with our coaches. What can give you the best experience, the best chance to win? I know football just installed some team seating, so it looks like an NFL-style locker room and meeting space there. Had a batter's eye down at baseball. The Divine Diamond's brand new. I mean, a lot of these projects are, immediate impacts on these programs that benefit not only the team itself, but the university and obviously the community, because these are rentable spaces.
Absolutely. And the more and more of these improvements that we are able to make, the better student-athlete experiences.
So the easiest way to go about doing all of this, because you threw a lot at us, is there a one sheet, is there a place to go for people to check everything out?
There is, kentstatesports.com/supportyoursport.
So then you can basically go there, you see our 19 sports, you figure out which one you want to check out. We also have a bunch of videos that Mr. Kane and Kane Studios here are made where you can see exactly where these funds are going, whether it's the coaches going, hey, we need this, or we're raising money to do this kind of trip, or a sleeper bus for our men's basketball team so they can get some rest on the road. You get to see exactly where you're making the impact and then kind of make your decision on where you want to go.
And if you're feeling competitive, there's also a donor leaderboard and a dollar leaderboard. So you can help any of our teams bump themselves up to first or second place.
And again, do we have any more bonuses coming down the pipe over the next little bit here throughout the month of November?
We do. We have our Donor Dollar Challenge Week starting on November 14th. And that one, each sport can receive an extra $25,000 to $5,000 if they have the most unique donors during that week. So if you've already given prior to the 14th, that's okay. It all resets that week from the 14th to the 20th, and any additional donors we get during that time could get bonus, like I said, up to $5,000.
So you donate to one sport the one week, and you want to donate to the other. I mean, heck, $25 obviously can go a long way. Even $5 can go a long way because all of a sudden you're another unique donor. So you can really kind of game this system and allow your dollar to go as far as possible.
We hope our donors will be just as competitive as we are when it comes to this.
So again, that is kentstatesports.com/supportyoursport. You can find all the information. You can figure out when you want to give in order to make sure that your dollars have the maximum amount of impact. And obviously this goes above and beyond what you guys are already doing within the Golden Flashes Club and the wonderful things you're doing for our student athletes, and then kind of giving back to the donors as well.
It sure does. And the whole entire campaign wraps up on Giving Tuesday, which is on November 28th, when we have a $100,000 match available across all the different areas on campus.
Well, Maggie, thank you very much for letting us know how our fans can make their dollars go farther.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this edition of Flash Talk, brought to you by Brian Heing & Cooling. Join us next week for another deep dive inside the wonderful world of Kent State athletics. For all of us here inside the GFTV studios, this is Dan Griffin saying goodnight and go Flashes.